welcome to the regular meeting of the village president or mayor and board of trustees. It is January 11th. First order of business, of course, is the call to order and pledge of allegiance. We're going to be led today by a young man named Jimmy Malagusis from Pleasantdale Elementary School. He is with his mother and father, and I'm going to say a couple things about him first. Now, of course, according to your principal. Now, you are a fourth grader. Jimmy is a fourth grader at Pleasantdale Elementary School. He always has a smile on his face and serves as a great role model for the rest of the students. He always tries his hardest, is one of the most enthusiastic students in the building, maybe in the world. Now that is one heck of a compliment. His favorite subjects are science and physical education. Spare time, he enjoys hockey, football, spending time with his 7th grade sister, Joelle, and high school brother, John. And today is an extra special day. Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Okay, well, let's do the pledge of allegiance. Ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, and once again, happy birthday, Jimmy Malagusis from Pleasantdale. Okay, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Francis. Trustee Grasso.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Bolus.
Here.
Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Scalpa.
Here.
Mayor Straub.
Here. Donovan Township presentation.
Greg Wooster is here, but his assistant is not. You want
Our
to?
director is being held up by Ron Boylan here. So I'd ask the board to move it up with good order reschedule.
We'll just move it to, it's not going to be that long of a meeting, and if he gets here in time, fine. If not, we'll reschedule. Okay, thank you. Whatever you like. Okay, next is the residents' comment section. Are there any residents of the village that would like to address the board this time?
Mark Thomas, 7515 Drew. One thing I was looking at on our current agenda that's up for the omnibus vote was actually two items. The approval for purchase of computers for the squad cars and for the Tri-State Fire Protection District. I was just curious why we're spending $3,500 per computer when a $500 computer would do the same job.
Well, I'll have the police chief answer that question for you.
You want to, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on the consent agenda, that's fine.
These are specialized laptop computers that are by Panasonic, and it's a state purchase. Panasonic is the manufacturer that's on the state procurement for the state of Illinois, and there's a vendor selected in northern Illinois to distribute and sell those computers. The computers themselves are ruggedized, so they're built specifically for this type of duty, and I'd be happy to provide you with the specs on them if you'd like. Yeah, they're the same type of computers that are in our cars right now. They're more updated because we're switching dispatch centers. So we have to give the computers we have back to Southwest Central Dispatch and purchase our own with our membership in the DUCOM. So I can't give you technical specifications off the top of my head, but they're ruggedized Panasonic Toughbooks. Right. And I know there's more in there than just the computer itself. It's the Verizon cards and the communication with the computer-aided dispatch. So, and there's some hardware that comes with it too. So I'd be happy to give it to you later, but.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that. Sure. So one of the reasons I bring it up is I'm familiar with the Toughbook computers, and that's why I said $3,500 instead of the $4,700, because I realized there were a lot of options that we're using in the squad cars. My previous job, I was doing research at South Pole Station, Antarctica, and I had a tough book, and I also had several IBM Lenovo computers, and the Lenovo computers I used to use all the time. I'd throw on the back of a snowmobile, be driving out to remote sites to program equipment, and I never had a failure. It ran for 8 seasons at South Pole. Each season I was down there was 3.5 months. And daily I was doing this type of task. So I'm kind of curious. I noticed that the ETSB, I don't know exactly who they are or where they stem from, but apparently it's a recommending body, or is it?
Well, yes, we treat them as a recommending body. That's the Emergency Telephone System Board.
Mm-hmm.
They handle the 911 system for the village. Now, we're consolidating with DuPage County ETSB, Emergency Telephone System Board, beginning on May 1st. But they have been in place since 1988, 89.
So are their meetings open to the public?
Oh, yes.
And I can find that where, that information? Would that be on DuPage County or?
No, that's our committee. And
Oh, is it?
We do post those meetings.
Oh, okay, all
They
right.
don't meet regularly, they meet as needed.
Uh-huh,
And they usually meet maybe sometimes once a year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year.
okay. All right, thank you.
Hey, Mark, yeah, am I to assume that you're not going to be available for the rest, to stay through the rest of the meeting?
Well, that's not on the consent.
No, I will be.
Here's my request. Now that your sort of topic is very important, and rather than going out of order, you as a resident certainly have the opportunity to ask that an item on a consent agenda be taken off the consent agenda, so that when that item comes up, this sort of discussion could commence when the item comes on. Just to follow the protocol a little closer.
That I wasn't aware of.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
strictly.
only board members could request that it be taken off the consent agenda, that's why I.
Yeah, it's actually right, I say it so often, I forgot it's on there. It's right on, I read it every day, every week, every other week.
Okay,
So,
duly noted.
okay, thank you very much for your consideration and interest. Okay. Now, any other residents like to address the board? Residents? Are you a resident?
Procedures, rule 1, tab 4, the consent agenda omnibus vote, it says, any item should be removed from the consent agenda omnibus vote at the request of any one trustee or anyone present at the meeting. And on the agenda, it says, under item 4, there will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a citizen so request. I'm a citizen and I would like to address item 8C.
And at that time, as a citizen, you can, but not until the non-resident section.
But it should not be under non-resident. I can remove this item from the agenda.
You,
I think it's implied, Dolores, that you need to be a citizen of the village of Burr Ridge. You need to be a citizen of the village of Burr Ridge. I said you need to be a citizen of the village of Burr Ridge. I think that's implied here.
Okay, I just read the ordinance that you adopted in September. That's what you wanted.
I understand, it says citizen,
Then how does it not apply?
because we're implying that you're a citizen of Burr Ridge.
we're moving on,
It says
Dolores.
anyone present at the meeting.
We're moving on, and you are a non-resident, and I think you're disrupting the meeting right now. So if you could please sit down, we'd really appreciate it, and your portion is at the end of the meeting.
This is not what your ordinance states.
Thank you. Are there any other residents that would like to make any comments at this time? Now, moving on to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, and in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Under minutes, we have 5A, approval of regular board meeting of December 14th, 2015.
Please remove.
Okay. Under 5B, receive and file draft street policy committee meeting of December 14th, 2015. 5C, receive and file draft E911 board meeting of December 15th, 2015. Under ordinances, 6B, approval of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to permit an additional building to be constructed for an electrical substation at Z19-2015 located at 7100 Grant Street for ComEd. Under ordinances, 6C, approval of an ordinance granting a variation pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to reduce the required front yard setback for additional building for an electrical substation at Z19-2015 located at 7100 Grant Street, ComEd again. Under 6D, approval of an ordinance granting variations pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to permit construction of additional parking in the front of the building and located less than the required 8 feet from the side lot line at Z18-2015 located 8310 to 8350 Madison Street, McCormick, Illinois, McCormick 3rd LLC. Under 8E, Number 60, approval of an ordinance granting variations of the Village of Burr Ridge sign ordinance for the number of signs on an office property. That's S01-2015, located at 150 Harvester Drive, Estancia. Nothing under resolutions. Under considerations, 8B, approval of Burr Ridge ETSB recommendation to purchase computers for Burr Ridge Police Squad cars. Under 8C, approval of Burr Ridge ETSB recommendation to purchase emergency vehicle computers for the Tri-State Fire Protection District.
Remove.
That's been removed. Approval of Burr Ridge ETSB recommendation to pay DUCOM agency administration fee. Approval recommendation to award contract for tree trimming. 8E. 8F, receive and file resignation letter for the part-time Public Works Water Division General Utility worker. That's Fred Jocklick, who is effective December 29th, 2015. 8G, approval recommendation to fill the part-time Water Division General Utility worker, one vacancy created by the resignation of part-time General Utility worker, one Fred Jocklick. Under 8H, approval of a recommendation to approve request for the Willowbrook Burr Ridge Chamber of Commerce for placement of temporary promotional signs for the Business Expo on June 1st, 2016, and the Cruisin' 66 Fest in August of 2016. And considerations, 8I, approval of vendor list in the amount of $458,828.68 for all funds, plus $447,073.06 for payroll, for a grand total of $905,901.74, which includes a special expenditure of $267,217 to IRMA for our 2016 annual contribution. May I have a motion to approve the following items on the consent agenda? That would be 5B, 5C, 6B, 6C, 6D, 6E. Under 8, considerations, 8B, 8D, 8E, 8F, 8G, 8H, and HI. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Sorry. We're all jumping in the new year.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Township.
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. We're going to go back up to the Downers Grove Township presentation because all members are currently present. And microphone, please introduce yourself. And I'm sorry, in front of the microphone so it's recorded.
Do you have a
I'm Lori Rosinski from Downers Grove Township, the Public Relations Director. Who's here is responsible for this weather?
It's Tony.
Okay. I just want to know who to
Dave.
blame.
Dave.
Our Public Works Director takes full responsibility.
Responsibility.
I have to blame somebody. All right, so you just press this. I'm going to turn it over to our Township Supervisor, Frank Wooster, for a moment.
Good evening. I'm Frank Wooster, Township Supervisor. Lori's already introduced herself. Everybody here okay?
I'm going to turn that light up a little bit, just a little bit just so we can, so anyone in the audience can, or the camera can be able to see Frank.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
The township consists of 8 elected officials, 4 trustees, unlike your 6 trustees here, a clerk, highway commissioner, myself, the supervisor, and Terry Cockrell, the assessor. I'm going to introduce these folks here. Upper left is Mark Cuthbert, trustee, Andy Anderson, the big guy, is our highway commissioner, myself, the supervisor, and Greg Bose, who's a new trustee. On the bottom is, on the left is, on my left is Terry Cockrell, our assessor, Laura Hoyce, our clerk, Lorraine Grimsby, trustee, and Kathy Abate, who's also a trustee. What else do I want to say about this? They're 4-year terms. The next election is April 2017, and the caucus will be in January. We do a caucus instead of a primary. With the exception of myself, this is my last term. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt at any time. By law, the Illinois townships are charged with 3 basic functions: general assistance, the assessment of real property for the basis of local taxation, maintenance of all roads and bridges. Already mentioned that we have our 3 main offices: assessor's office, highway department, and the supervisor's office. Downers Grove Township is the largest township in DuPage County, perhaps the state. I'm not sure about that. 52 square miles, and on the north side, the 39th Street. On the south side is the Sag Canal. On the east side is County Line Road, and on the west side is Woodward Avenue. One of our goals is to work together with all the municipalities. There's 7 municipalities primarily in the township, and 2 partial with Lamont and Woodridge. Highway Department has 3 divisions: forestry and grounds, operations, and storm water. Andy does, in the brush division, does 3 pickups of brush in the unincorporated areas. I should add that we have 70 miles of unincorporated roads that Andy takes care of.
He said how many miles?
Restoration division,
Frank, do you say 70 miles?
70 miles, yes,
70 miles just in the township.
in the township. And that's a bit more than some of the other townships. It runs all the way from 15 miles, 20 miles, unincorporated roads for some of the townships all the way up to R-70. Andy's responsible for all 70 miles, the road right-of-way, and the road right-of-way is 33 feet. Is from the, measured from the middle of the road to the property line. Weed division simply takes care of the mowing and the cutting of the weeds. He does 3 cuttings a year. In operations, he has capital improvements, payment maintenance, and traffic control. Capital improvements, I don't know if you're familiar with Gatsby 34, but we're mandated to do an inventory of all of our capital, and we have about $27 million worth of sidewalk, curbs, roads, and that sort of thing. Pavement maintenance is simply asphalt patching, crack sealing, gravel shouldering, and traffic control is pavement remarking and our streetlights. Curb and gutter, simply, he has about 900 plus basins he takes care of, and along with mosquito abatement, he puts a tablet in each one of those basins that lasts all summer long for mosquito abatement. We do that. Open ditch includes the culvert replacement, existing tile maintenance within the easements. Public Works Mutual Aid. Township is a member of the DuPage County, PWMA, the Highway Department, along with other townships in the county, are part of one of the nation's first Public Works Mutual Aid. And it's to help the residents in the event of a disaster. And we have CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, that was started by Milton Township about 2 years ago. And it's simply helping out the local communities in case of an emergency or a disaster. The CERT team does several things. They'll do traffic control, searching for missing people, that sort of thing. With that, I want to turn it over to Lori, who's going to take care of the rest of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Frank. It's really hard for me to stand in one place, so if I look a little fidgety, I apologize. As Frank mentioned, there's 3 mandates that a township needs to provide. So there's the highway department, as he mentioned, which is for road and bridge maintenance. There's the assessors, which is the assessment of real property value, and general assistance. So our assessors department, and one of the things we want to emphasize, I mean, we're out here, we're talking, and of course we want to educate our public on what it is that we're doing and how we're serving them. So we also want our residents and everybody to know that if they ever have any questions, I certainly don't know everything, but our elected officials like you are always open to answering questions. So certainly feel free to do that at any time. But our assessors department, there's a number of functions, but the primary ones, one are the maintenance of public records of over 58,000 properties within the township. One of the things that is important and interesting to know about that is that our assessor really wants people to come in and inspect their files. They want to make sure that they're accurate. And you guys probably already aware of this, that information is also a matter of public record. So anybody can come in and inspect anybody's files. But our assessor really wants to make sure that people are looking at their information, making sure that it's accurate. So they're maintaining those public records. They're also determining the assessment for all property within the township. Again, this is really fascinating. I am not a mathematical person, and our assessors go through a lot of training in order to do their job. Basically, one of the things that I want to communicate in this presentation is that information actually comes from the state. It's filtered down to the county level, and then that information in turn is transmitted to the townships. They then use that information with a variety of calculations to actually determine the assessment or the value of that property upon which taxes are based. Finally, one of the major roles of the assessors is to assist property owners with tax exemption applications. So our senior population in Downers Grove Township, I'm kind of ahead of myself, but our 65-plus population is actually the biggest population age category in Downers Grove Township. And so we have a senior homestead exemption, for example. And so our assessors really want people to understand, while we aren't the ones who are actually processing those applications, we're able to help, we're able to answer questions. And so they're really great, whether it's somebody coming in and talking to one of the people in the assessor's office, or it's talking to them on the phone. They are there to provide that service and to help them with any questions that they might have. And then our supervisor's office. So under our supervisor's office is our human services department. But with respect to what we're mandated to do, there is general assistance, and Gary Ostrowski is our case manager. So there's a variety of general assistance programs. We have LIHEAP, which is Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. And I don't know about you, but I think about in weather like this, you know, how cold it is. And there are some people who can't afford, you know, to pay their energy bills. So that program exists to provide some assistance. There's also other programs such as emergency assistance and a program that we have with Salvation Army. Beyond those actually required programs, everything else that a township does is really the icing on the cake. So for instance, you can get passports. If you've ever gone to the post office, I remember years ago going to the post office waiting in line. Well, guess what? You can come to the township, you can get a passport. It doesn't take that long. We do the pictures there, and there you go. The last one I had, it was horrible. I probably shouldn't reveal that, but it was a horrible picture. And then Frank talked about mosquito abatement, the maintenance of 2 cemeteries. Now, we know how to stretch a dollar, literally. In 1985, the township acquired these 2 cemeteries, Oak Crest and Oak Hill, in unincorporated Downers Grove Township, for $1. $1. But of course, it's important to demonstrate respect for those who've gone before us. There's a lot of history, which I find very, very interesting. So that's one of the responsibilities that Downers Grove Township specifically has, is to maintain those cemeteries. And this past summer, there's been a lot of work actually that's been done in actually beautifying that area with putting up some gates. And we had a ceremony recently to restore some Civil War grave markers. So it was pretty interesting. We also house the fish pantry, which is a food and clothing pantry. And while that's not specifically the township providing it, it's another organization. But again, it's an example of a partnership that we have that's important to provide for the needs of the residents in our community. And then finally, the supervisor's office is responsible, and that's with the township clerk, as I'm sure Karen knows, to maintain our township records books, and not just one document. There's actually multiple documents. I have one document, but she actually maintains a lot more than that. And then, beyond that, the icing on the cake for us is also our Human Services Department. And so we've been providing services for 30 years for youth as well as senior citizens. One of our programs is our life skills program. We have 2 life skills teachers who teach anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 students a year, 3rd grade up through 8th grade. And we're in 21 elementary and junior high schools within Downers Grove Township. Been doing that for over 20 years. And it's nice because those programs are customizable to the needs of the schools. We get them in line with social and emotional learning standards, national health standards that schools have to comply with. And then our senior citizens programs. Hannah Benioff is our senior services coordinator. She's the first, I think, actual social services or human services person. She started as a contract employee. And at 83, she is still providing services. I really admire her. And so we have a variety of programs. Our Dial a Ride program, which is a ride program within Downers Grove Township boundaries. Our Vintage Times is a cable program that shows on local cable, as well as we have on DVDs that people can check out. Our Banner News newsletter. Our SALT, which is Senior and Lawmen Together, and Senior Advisory Council. And as I mentioned before, our 65-plus population is the fastest growing population demographic in Downers Grove Township in the census 2000 to 2010. While a lot of the other age categories declined, that population grew. So it's important for us to make sure that we're providing good services and being an information and resource portal as well. We also do substance abuse and violence prevention programs. We have 2 prevention specialists who provide those services, and that's targeting specifically youth ages 10 to 18. One of them does a lot of leadership development, a peer-led life skills program. She's involved with Snowball, Snowflake. Those are prevention programs. And then the other prevention specialist actually works not too far from here in the Willowbrook Corner area, and we've been in that area for for about 12, 13 years. And she does a lot of community capacity building around substance and violence issues. And then finally, we have early intervention programs for juvenile offenders, our peer jury and self-management. And I find it interesting, actually, the chief over here, some of the villages that we've been at, I've known a lot of these chiefs when they were like juvenile officers, detectives, same with you. Mark Shelton over at Willowbrook and Tom Mulhern over at Westmont were all juvenile officers when I met them. So our peer jury program is really interesting because that's a diversion program where first-time offenders, rather than getting sent to court, will come to our peer jury program. High school students are trained to hear these cases, and it's under a philosophy called restorative justice. So I could talk on and on about that. Obviously, I don't have time for that. But if you ever want to know more about that, talk to me. And then finally, we have two nonprofits. In September of 2012, the township decided to incorporate two non-for-profits as a way to allow us to expand our capacity to provide services. Again, we know we have certain tax dollars. There's certain priorities that we have to set in terms of how we're going to meet the needs of our residents. And again, for us, with our senior population growing, we knew that was something that we needed to address. So we formed our Friends for Downers Grove Township Seniors to not only support what we're currently doing, but looking into the future. How can we potentially, whether it's us expanding services or the other partnerships that we might form. And so I'm really excited about that nonprofit. And then finally, those two cemeteries that I mentioned that we purchased in 1985. Again, there's a lot that can go into maintaining that local history. So we also formed the Oak Hill Oak Crest Cemetery Foundation as a way to support making those, keeping that history alive. So that is it. For our presentation, we want to thank you. Again, this was just an opportunity to try and let people know how we are working together to provide for the needs in our communities. And anytime anybody has any questions or wants to come and talk or visit anything that we're doing, we highly, highly encourage people to do that. So,
Lori?
Any questions? Yes.
Lori, I have one question for you, and then I also want to open up just questions to the board
Yes.
members, since this is a golden opportunity, since we do appreciate you and Frank coming in tonight.
Thank you.
I think Frank mentioned it earlier, but I didn't quite catch it, and if I did, I want to be clear on it, that within DuPage County, all of DuPage County, how many townships are there?
9.
9 total. Excellent. Okay.
Correct. And we are we're essentially geographically, we're about like a township and a half, technically, if you looked at the size of our township.
36 square miles.
Right. And we have close to 150,000 residents within the township, just under.
Those are great things to keep in mind. Any board members have any questions of the presenters, Lori or Frank?
Questions, but thank you for the informative presentation.
Thank you.
Well, I think what the residents should realize is one of the reasons they're making this speech is to explain to our residents and the residents of DuPage County that they're here to serve them. They have services, and for our residents, if they need those services, don't hesitate to call. And that's what they're there for.
Yes.
And there are a lot of services. I know when I was on the other side years ago in Cook County and we were in Lyons Township, I took advantage of a lot of the services that Lyon Township had. And there's no doubt that they do to provide a service. So I would recommend that if any of these services look like they're available for the residents, please use them.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, Albert. And one of the other things that I think is really important is that we are there to talk with our residents. And if we don't provide those services, how can we connect them? I have conversations all the time with residents looking for information. They have needs of services. Sometimes they just need somebody to really kind of talk to because maybe they're just really struggling. Maybe they're having a crisis. Maybe they just know that we are here to serve, and so they're going to call us. But yeah, we are here to serve.
Could you just refresh our memories and let us know where the township offices are?
It's 4340 Prince Street in Downers Grove,
Thanks.
right by Downers Grove North High School, 2 blocks west of Main Street, half a block south of Ogden Avenue. There's a Starbucks and a Scooby's on the corner. So happy when they put that Starbucks in.
I bet.
Anyone else?
I would say one thing. even though that's your address, I was over there several weeks ago. You could do a little better with signage,
With signage, Frank?
because with the school, you gotta go around the back and come in through a certain way.
Well, you know what, and ever since they actually did some construction, they blocked off Prince where the school is, and ever since then, because I teach classes there, and there's some very bizarre instructions that people are given if they Google. That's why I have that mantra, is kind of 2 blocks west of Main Street, half block south of Ogden Avenue,
Look
one
for
story
the
brown brick
Starbucks.
building, there's a Scooby, yeah, so,
Good. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it. Good to see you again.
I should mention that our budget township is about $5 million for the entire township, which equates to about 2% or a little bit less than 2% of your real estate bill. So we're very frugal. We do all what we talk.
Frank wasn't on the microphone right there, but he said it was $5 million, you said? I'm sorry.
$5
$5
million.
million budget?
$2.5 million for the supervisor, and about $2.5 million for the
Represents about 2% of our real estate taxes.
right.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Be safe when you're running home.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the, under minutes, it was removed by Janet, the approval of regular board meeting.
Yes, the description of my discussion about reselling or revisiting selling the pump station property, I just wanted to clarify that then Mr. Stricker pointed out that any proceeds would be used to pay down or pay off the debt on the police station. When I read the description here, or the summary, it sounded like I meant that the pump station property would be a debt off the roster. So I just wanted to be clarified that Mr. Stricker pointed out that the proceeds would have to be used to pay down the debt on the police station.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
That's my only
correction
issue.
you made? Steve?
What's that?
Is that clarification that you made on?
Karen has that, yes.
Thank you very much.
She has to,
So we just need a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, approved as amended. Under ordinances, 6A, consideration of ordinance authorizing and granting a franchise to Northern Illinois Gas Company, DBA Nightport, successors, and assigns to construct, operate, and maintain a natural gas distribution system in and through the village of Burr Ridge.
Right. The Village's franchise agreement actually expired in 2006. At that time, it was a 50-year agreement. So it started at the beginning of the incorporation of the village. We tried to negotiate a new franchise agreement with Nicor at that time. They refused to sit down with us. They simply gave us that 5-page document that you saw that I copied for you and said, take it or leave it. And we decided we didn't want to sign that. It was an antiquated document, and we felt that we should hold out. Fortunately, there were other communities that were in the same boat. We talked for about a year and a half, and finally in 2009, we created a consortium of communities. Currently, there are about 39 of us, I think, in the consortium. And obviously, with the intent to pressure Nicor to sit down with us and negotiate a new model franchise agreement. I've been involved in this process from the beginning, as a member of the board, and then a member of the negotiating team, and then ultimately, the last couple of years as the chairperson of that organization. And I'm pleased to report that after several years, we have finally successfully completed our work, and we have a new model franchise agreement, which was approved by our board and has been submitted to all of the municipalities for approval. I provided you with a summary of the highlights of the agreement. It's several pages, obviously, and obviously a major improvement to what we would have signed otherwise. And communities that had signed that 5-page agreement will not be eligible for some of the things that we're going to be able to get. And a couple of the things I wanted to point out was, number one, a 20% increase in the number of therms allocated to municipalities. And secondly, and most importantly, a one-time payment that Nicor will make to us equal to 75% of the municipality's annual therm allocation multiplied by the gas costs per therm. For Burr Ridge, this equates to $14,283. Now, I mentioned that in order to be a part of this consortium, over the years, we had to pay dues to cover legal fees, and we paid a total of $5,066 in legal fees during that period. So this one-time payment that we're receiving from NICOR will more than cover the investment that we made into this organization. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, but I'm definitely recommending that we go ahead and approve the ordinance granting this franchise agreement.
Okay. Trustee Schiappa, any questions?
No, I understand that, I appreciate the work that you did to get this agreement.
Thank you.
Trustee Murphy?
No,
Trustee Bolus?
it's quite a coup to get NICOR to pay us. So congrats on that. That's
Thank you.
fantastic.
No.
Is it?
No questions.
No question.
And Trustee Francis?
Appreciate all Steve's hard work and participating and leading this consortium and negotiating this contract with NICOR. And the bonus is the payment to the village and to the residents. So appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Fabeza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. We're on to an item that was removed by Trustee Bolus. Approval of the Burr Ridge ETSP recommendation to purchase emergency vehicle computers for the Tri-State Fire Protection District.
Correct. The reason I removed it was, Steve, you had a nice write-up as to why we're providing computers for Tri-State. So if you can inform the residents of that. I said you had a nice write-up in our packet as to why we're providing computers for Tri-State. So if you could just read it to the residents.
Well, right. When years ago, when we formed the Burr Ridge Emergency Telephone System Board, we initiated a fee of 60 cents per phone line. Obviously, this was not, when we created the 911 board, it's not just for the Burr Ridge Police Department, although Burr Ridge is the, I guess you can call it a primary, well, we were not the primary PSAP, but the police department is primary, but we also have to take into account that the fire districts that serve the village of Burr Ridge also have emergency 911 needs as well. And way back when this was first formed, it was agreed that we would set aside some dollars that we receive, 5 cents per phone line for each of the 2 fire districts. Out of that 60 cents would go toward the 2 fire districts to be used for 911 related equipment. Okay, so it has to be related. It's very strict in terms of what you can use that money for. And so over the years, we've been setting aside these dollars, and they both have accounts, and they grow to the point where, there's enough money in there to purchase things like computers and consoles and other 911 related equipment. Over the years, as I say, they purchased this equipment, and this is just another of many requests that the fire districts have made to the village utilizing this 911 money. Again, very restricted for 911 related purposes, and as I say, we have set aside a small portion for each of the 2 fire districts over the years.
So they have 43,000 and they're looking for the balance, correct? Which is in
The
fund.
43,000 as of last year's audit, so that's real money, it's not an estimate. And then whatever they might have accumulated this fiscal year, starting May 1st of 2015, which we won't know the total amount until after the audit. So we won't know really till September of this year how much extra there might be available. Their purchase of these computers is a lot more than the amount that we have available. So they're going to go ahead, purchase this, and then they'll get reimbursed from the village. First off, from the amount that we know we have in the account, and then if there's anything left over after the audit in September, we could also provide that to them as well.
And we have been doing this since the beginning of beginning of the collection of the tax. It's nothing new. Are other
nothing.
municipalities doing the same thing?
No. There's a lot of municipalities that have not provided money to the fire districts. Now, if your municipality has a fire department, then yes. But a lot of communities that have their own ETSB, especially in Cook County, where say Pleasant View Fire Protection District
Right.
is in Cook County, they do not provide, a lot of them don't provide money to the fire district. But we agreed early on that we would do that, and we've been doing that since 1988. Well, I shouldn't say 1988, probably since, it was formed in 88, 89. We've probably been doing it since very early 1990s.
And that's to Tri-State, not to Pleasant View at all? Oh, to both, okay.
Yes, they both have accounts. I think last year we approved an expenditure from Pleasant View.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on this? May I have a motion to approve 8C?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Grasso.
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
6-0.
That motion approves 6-0. I missed 8A. When I did my little check mark here, I went up across the A and thought that was already has been discussed and approved. But now we are 8A, consideration of street policy committee recommendation to approve the 2016 road program. And we are joined tonight by our new Public Works Director, David Preissig.
Thank you. Well, I can't take credit for the snow because there is no specific line item for making the snow. I will take credit for our roads and something that we manage. There are plenty of budgets that we're going to talk about tonight in that respect. So I'm going to give you a summary of the 2015 capital program that we've wrapped up, and then the 2016 or the 2015 street survey we do every other year, and then the development of the 2016 capital program for the upcoming fiscal year. In the 2015 capital program, and I should say every capital program is comprised usually of the road program, our annual road program, as well as the improvements program, which is the resurfacings and projects on the larger roads, sometimes the grant projects we refer to. In this past year was no exception. Garfield Avenue is a resurfacing project scheduled for construction this summer in 2016. It's got an STP grant for 75% of that construction cost when we do that. So we're in the phase of designing the engineering plans and getting that approved through IDOT right now. 2015 road program wrapped up with resurfacing in the parts of the Wildwood subdivision, then over in Dougshire Court, the High Grove Industrial Park and Tower Drive. We also incorporate our seal coating this past year on the Village Hall and Public Works parking lots, something that the Street Policy Committee approved last year with a little bit of extra funds. Crack filling various streets, asphalt patching we did in the fall throughout some roads in coordination also with utility repairs. And then material testing is also required by IDOT when we use the MFT funds. And then pavement marking, we just deferred this past year in the lapse of Public Works Director. It was too late in the season to get one started, but we will get that started right away and rebudget that in the next fiscal year. The total cost of this past year's program was $649,522 in that road program. You'll see that we came in under budget on everything, and not counting even the pavement marking be deferred. We came in about 92% under our budget of $700,500. Every other year in 2015, we conduct the street survey. We did that this past July. It is a pavement condition rating is what we're looking for, and ranks from 0 to 100. What the pavement condition rating does is we go out into the field, we're looking at every street segment, getting a visual inspection of the roadways with a consistent evaluation of the distress types. That's something that you see on the surface. It's an indication of some sort of deterioration, cracking, rutting, some sort of pavement failure. We're identifying pavements for the preventative maintenance. We're looking really for the right treatment on the right road at the right time. That gives us the best benefit to preserve our pavements and our roadways. Not only that, do we do the worst first, but we also coordinate our projects by neighborhood. We want to get and disturb a neighborhood once, but also trying to schedule around other improvements, and we're going to get into that when you see the 2016 program. We're going to work around some other projects. The right treatment, right time methodology is kind of demonstrated by that graph on the right side. When you start on a new street that starts on the left side, you kind of see that over time the pavement deteriorates. We see that every day on our roads that after they've been resurfaced, time goes by, and the roads are deteriorating. If you do a little bit of work, like a crack filling or something like that, that's that little bit of tick. You can keep a road in decent condition with a little bit of funds. You let it go a little bit further, you got to get into patching. You go a little bit further, you're going to get into resurfacing. The longer it waits, the more expensive it gets in terms of rehabilitation to get it back up to our standards. So we're really kind of looking at the right treatment at the right time on the right street with the budget we're allocated for our street improvements. A 2015 street survey looks like this. When it goes out in the field, our engineer would take this form, and he's looking at pavement distress types. There's 14 different types listed there. He drives a segment of road and he looks at what's happening, how severe is it, and how much is it occurring on. We go back into the field on the next sheet, we come back in from the field, and we calculate it. This is an example of Wildwood. It's one street proposed in the 2016 program. This is what the calculations look like. It's not rocket science, but it certainly isn't smoke and mirrors, but it is kind of a consistent methodology, well demonstrated in DOTs and municipalities throughout the nation, with, again, the different distress types typical of asphalt pavement. We also do separate ones for some of the concrete pavements that we've got in town. Full copy of the 2015 street survey was provided to the Street Policy Committee at the 2015 meeting on December 14th. It's available to anyone upon request if you want to see the ratings of streets by subdivision, by type, by name, or anything you want to know about the road. 2016 program then was developed off of that street survey. Again, we're going to continue on Garfield Avenue. That's going to be resurfaced in the summer. The 79th Street resurfacing, we're going to start engineering on that. DuPage Mayors and Managers, as a one-time incentive, is going to allocate 5% more if you can bring the project to letting by 2018. We're going to schedule the 79th Street. It is one of our worst-rated streets. We're going to move that up one fiscal year, start engineering next year, to get that under construction in summer of 2017. The 2016 road program, again, consists of resurfacing as well as the crack filling and pavement marking, but here's the streets program for resurfacing. Kind of vaguely on the map, you can see we'll be down in the Oak Hill Estates subdivision, down on the southwest side of town. Polo Ridge Court, Andrew Court and Clubside Court on the northwest side. Woodview Road and South Drive on the northeast. And then Chase Moore Drive through the heart of town, also reconstructing the speed humps. Crack filling will be on various streets. Pavement marking, like I said, will be deferred, but rebudgeted, and we'll get to that right away in the summer. And then material testing is required. We deferred some streets because of coordination with an STP project of Garfield Avenue. Some of the streets near that neighborhood, Cove Creek 62nd, for example, were rated more poorly, but we've got to defer one more year just to kind of work around the Garfield Avenue. We don't want to work with numerous contractors in the same area. Let the main road get resurfaced first. We'll come in there next year. Also along German Church Road, because we've got that sidewalk construction starting up in April, we'll move back like Greystone Court and Steepleside Drive, for example, to next year after that road, after that sidewalk construction is done and German Church Road is reopened. The 2016 cost of the capital program, as presented and recommended for approval by the Street Policy Committee. We're pleased our engineering division developed this program here, again, Garfield Avenue, resurfacing in summer 2016. Engineering and construction cost, total cost of $333,000, but the grant funds contribute 75%. Again, this year for the one-time incentive, 75% of construction. Total village cost of $120,700. 79th Street resurfacing, we'll get that engineering, get that lined up for the next construction in 2017. Then a road program, resurfacing cost, you see the total of the other construction costs. That's, again, the crack filling, pavement marking, material services. MFT funds, this is the motor fuel tax. It's at 19 cents on the gallon. It's what the village receives from the state. Just the next board meeting, there will be a resolution authorizing the transfer of those funds per IDOT. And the total road program cost of $663,000, of which the village then, after the MFT transfer, pays $399,000. Over $1 million in roadway improvements, including engineering, for a total cost of $559,000 from the village's funds. Again, this is a program recommended by the Street Policy Committee. We're looking for your consideration for approval of that Street Policy Committee recommendation. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
Could I just mention one thing? That $559,920 is available in the capital projects fund. So it should not take any additional general fund money next year to do.
Any questions of the board? I know we've done another discussion on the street policy committee and other discussions, but any other questions?
If there's no questions, I make a motion, we approve the expenditure for the road program.
Any further
Second
discussion? Second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Baveza?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Under other considerations for announcement, deliberation, and/or discussion, no official action to be taken. Anything else? Okay. Back to the residents' comments. Any comments from any residents tonight? I'd like to address the board. Reports and communications from village officials. Trustee Grasso.
I'd like to announce that my grandson, Jack, is now a big brother to Jordan.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Trustee Murphy.
I wanted to announce that Global Luxury Imports has signed on to be a $5,000 sponsor of the Burbridge 5K. So there'll be a pickup location this year. So we were happy to get them. I also wanted to announce that the people who live in the Woods Pool area are looking for support to keep the swimming pool open. They're looking for people to attend the July 18th board meeting and to sign up for membership.
January 18th.
Oh, I'm sorry, January. The January 18th board meeting, and to also go online and to print out a membership form and sign up for membership to show your support of the pool.
Yes, and that's just a point of clarification. The Woods Pool is available to essentially any Burbridge resident that wants to join, correct?
Yes, and non-residents.
So it's not, and non-residents, so it's not just an issue for the Woods Pool subdivision or that area. It's really any Burbridge resident that wants to be a member of that or support it. Right?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Any other announcements from village officials? I have a few. One, I just received a great thank you card. It was actually kind of a Christmas thank you card from a non-resident that was traveling through Burbridge whose car broke down. It was sent us a very beautiful card I just received today commending our police department. And I just want to give a kudos and a shout out to officers, I think Gerald Karszewski and Dan, I believe, Dan something. Oh, that's right, it was Dan O'Connor, wasn't it? He didn't have a last name there, but shout out to them from a resident that was passing through. I ended up giving him a ride to his work. That was a real team effort there. Second, I also received a notice here. You might remember that at the Jingle Mingle, we always have the winner representative from the Mrs. Illinois America pageant winner. That is always in one of the cars and waving and does a little book signing and pictures with the kids. Well, the pageant wanted to send the village a special invitation and a heads up for any residents that would like to be in that pageant to compete in the Mrs. Illinois America pageant. Just for your information, it is March 26th, and 2016 is held in Elgin. And any information, any questions can be directed to the following email address. It's pageants@mrsillinoisamerica.com. And that's all there is. Now we're on to the non-resident section. Are there any non-residents who would like to make a comment this time? Yes?
Good evening. My name is Dolores Cezek, former trustee and former resident. Happy New Year to you all. First, I would like, since the press was not here earlier, it's my understanding that under the consent agenda, the omnibus vote an item can be removed by a trustee or, according to the agenda, citizens so request. And that is what is on your ordinance for board procedures. Rule 1, Item 4, an item shall be removed at the request of any one trustee or anyone present at the meeting, and I'm a citizen and I was present, and for Stricker to say that this isn't applicable is another example of bovine waste. You know, Mr. Stricker, a few weeks ago, you said you did not want to be referred to by your surname. I find it very insulting that when I speak, you either snicker or you look at the ceiling. I would appreciate it if you would look at me and listen to what I'm saying.
Dolores?
Now, what I wanted to
Dolores?
say under 8C,
Dolores, excuse me 1 second. A point of clarification by the way, if
wait just a minute, you have to take that out of my 5 minutes. If you're going to respond, that's not my 5 minutes.
okay, you're right. Why don't you talk for 5 minutes and then I'll respond.
Okay. What I wanted to say under 8C was, I don't understand why Burr Ridge is contributing to the emergency vehicle computers for Tri-State Fire Protection District. Are you providing the same funding for Pleasant View Fire Protection District? And how much does that amount to?
5 cents per phone line, Dolores. I mentioned that. I don't know if you heard me.
The answer is yes. The answer is yes, Dolores, we do.
I just want to be sure that it is being provided equally.
It is.
Secondly, I do not understand why DuPage Township, Downers Grove Township officials were here tonight making a presentation when surely you understand that there is a statewide effort to eliminate township government. Don't you know that? Now, I'd like to refer to one of the articles that I presented. This ran in the Tribune on January 8th. Macy's is cutting their jobs by 4,800 people. And they have a workforce of 163,000. I didn't realize their workforce was that large. But in any event, these job cutbacks amount to 3% of the workforce. It's very important that what is said in the article. Retailers, after a holiday season that saw a noticeable shift to online shopping and away from physical stores. I've been off this board for 10 years, and when I was on this board, I argued a blue streak that it was a mistake to exempt online purchases from sales tax. The Army runs on its belly. A municipality runs on its sales tax. Where will this village's sales tax be in 10 years if online sales continue to be tax exempt? You better think about that. Now, the Waukegan mayor is taking an example from Burr Ridge, and he's reducing the public comments. What is very interesting is in the last column, Waukegan was successfully sued a decade ago over public comment issues by a trio of plaintiffs that included a man who claimed his First Amendment rights were violated when he was blocked from speaking during a meeting in January 2004. The city settled the litigation for $545,000 in 2012, according to
Dolores,
city records.
your 5 minutes is up. Would you like to
Yeah,
wrap it up quickly?
let me make my point.
Okay.
In May 2011, Mr. Grasso denied me the right to address the board because I was not a resident. And, you know, if this goes to a civil rights case, the village will lose a lot of money. I hope you'll keep that in mind. And you also, you denied me the right to speak at your first meeting in May of 2013. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dolores. I just wanted to do one little clarification here. Was brought to my attention by a resident watching tonight that a citizen is defined in the, I believe it's Webster's, as an inhabitant of a particular town or city. And I think that's really the spirit of our consent agenda, and certainly who can get involved in removing something from the agenda and also addressing the board. So, yes, Trustee Francis?
And if what you say is true, then how do you define a citizen of the United States?
Just going by the definition from Webster's. We could.
Okay, well, maybe there's some clarification that needs to be furthered in the ordinance so that there's not this ongoing dispute.
Now, that would certainly avoid this debate in the future.
So,
I think that'd be a first preference, but good idea. So.
Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Or is it the residence section? The residence portion is over.
Tell the resident.
Residence portion is over. I have a motion to adjourn.
They already got it.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, they already did.
Roll call.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
6-0.
Meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you again for joining us.